By the time that I saw Bitcoin, it made sense to me, but I'd done years of prep work, as in read Austrian economics. I started off on Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell, that sort of stuff, Ayn Rand, and then went more into the Ludwig von Mises, Murray Rothbard, that sort of stuff. So I had 4 or 5 years of that. So when Bitcoin came on my radar, it made sense.
Oh, and they're all working against me today. It is Malou with you, doing the greater well. You did it this time. Oh, look, I tell you what, you've got to work with your friends. This is a real problem. Okay, Derek Whittaker, by my left. I kept your mics off. You do understand that for that very reason. Okay, well, thank you for joining us here for the Greater Wealth. 1 o'clock, it's what we do here on Edge Radio Australia. I kept their mics off because they do this thing where there's about 5 seconds to go.
Are we on now?
No, you are definitely on air. But okay, we do this thing where when we're about 5 seconds, the shaved monkey over there, Mr. Cartier, decides to try and put me off. It's his thing. It makes him feel important, right?
It's just funny. Let's be honest. It's funny.
Oh, he's got so little in his life. But today, have you looked at him? He does look like
too handsome.
Shaved ape? No? Okay, there we go. But today, we're all diving in. Derek, pleasure being here, mate, with you.
Thank you, Aaron.
My tongue is firmly in my cheek as I say that. We've got a special guest, which we'll introduce you in just a tick there. I'll give you a little hint. It's Brandon. You may have seen him before or heard him many, many times. And as I say, the shaved monkey over there. We are doing the Greater Wealth. Really, really excited about today because we've got some really awesome stuff to talk about, and obviously jumping into crypto. But I'll hand you to you. You've got the keys, mate. Go for it.
Thank you. Hey, Brandon, pleasure to have you, man.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
So Brandon's from Orange Brick Road, which is a bit of a crypto.
That's how they don't say it's a pleasure for me to be here.
Because I don't think they want you here.
No, they definitely don't. They just want me for my IT skills.
That's it. Nothing else.
There's a shaved monkey support group happening on
Hashtag
Wednesdays.
save the shaved monkey.
All right.
Actually, it should be hashtag vote.
Do you want to introduce Brandon for us? Because you know him better than I do.
No, actually, Aaron knows him the best.
Okay, well,
Did you love the handballs there? Like as many hand passes as the West Coast Eagles on the weekend.
If you could. If it's too hard. I feel like I'm doing everything here. I don't know. I'm carrying the whole damn thing. Look, Brandon is here from Orange Brick Road. Obviously a fantastic sponsor here at Edge Radio Australia. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, he has a little show that we call the Crypto Hour of Power. We do every week. What day is that, my friend?
Tuesdays at 1 o'clock.
That's right. And you're in a day early because, quite frankly, for some reason, you were bored. Nothing to do.
Diary up.
That's right. I thought, we all thought we had a bit of a sort of, I don't know, just generalised thought that it'd be great for you two to speak to each other about crypto. Yeah, no, him not so much. But for you two, absolutely. So
I'm here for politics.
Of course. Cool. So that's basically what it comes down to. What Brandon doesn't know about crypto is not worth knowing. Put into teaching the stuff and getting people like me who are newbies who don't understand the game to understand the game. Yeah.
Did you need us two to leave the room so you guys can go?
Had a little moment.
Oh, well, what happened just before we went on air? I'm a bit sus now. But so that's where we are.
Brandon, let me ask you, where are we in the crypto space? Because roll back 10 years ago, it was a bit of the Wild West still in terms of what was going on in crypto. Some people were still hearing what Bitcoin was for the first time. Most people know what it is. Whether they know how to acquire it is a whole different issue. But so people are on that journey of trying to get their head around blockchain, crypto, and where it relates and how it relates to everyday transactions. Now, if there's a view that I'm missing, correct me here. But for me, most of the general population has looked at crypto as two factors. One, as an investment, speculative at that. Two, as a means of exchange in terms of if I want to pay somebody, I can do so via crypto. That second one is probably still in its infancy in terms of understanding and also application.
Sure.
Is there one I've missed?
No, when Bitcoin first started off as the original idea was for payments. And then it has sort of transformed into a store of value. There's not a lot of transactions for goods and services with Bitcoin. There are other coins to do that, but you can do it through the Lightning Network. But the original sense of it was it was a currency to be exchanged. That's no longer the case. It is literally a store of value. But when we're saying store of value if we go back, the years that I first started in, they were talking about things like, there's going to be a mass adoption, countries are going to take it on, banks are going to do it, institutions are going to do it, and we're all like, yeah, that's a great pipe dream, and it was all kind of ethereal and just speculative and that sort of stuff. But now in the last 3 to 4 years, you're seeing that now. You're seeing real estates and the tokenization of property, from high-rise buildings to people tokenizing their homes, and storing value out of it, to banks now adopting it and having it on the spreadsheet like Commonwealth Bank in Australia. You've got Bank of America, and then you've got also institutional buyers, Michael Saylor, for example. So it's evolved, and countries are adopting it as well, So it's evolved from when I first started it. It was basically you're on the darknet, buy some pot, right? And it was all.
That was pre-Wild West. That was.
Oh yeah,
that was out there.
That's right.
Anything goes during those times.
Yeah, that's right. It was generally a means of exchange through the darknet and stuff like that, and it was mainly adopted by libertarians and anarcho-capitalists and that sort of stuff.
And anarchists.
Yeah,
a lot of people, I remember seeing on the political side of things, a lot of people were saying, oh no, this is just a new currency for the underworld, and they were saying you can buy drugs and all this sort of stuff with it, but it wasn't used that way.
No, not at all. And anyone that's buying anything with Bitcoin, that's illegal. You probably should have your head read, and that's the argument against Bitcoin. They're saying, it's all for criminals and drug dealers and all this sort of stuff. If you buy anything with Bitcoin and you want to keep it secret, you're an idiot, because it's on the blockchain. It's transparent. Anyone can see it. It's there forever. It can't be changed. If you do want to buy drugs and supply money and weapons to, terrorists and that sort of stuff, use the US dollar, right? Because that's where it all comes from.
This is not financial advice.
Yeah, that's it.
General specific.
No, this is criminal.
That was tongue-in-cheek, educational purpose only.
That's right.
And firmly tongue-in-cheek there, all right?
Yeah, 100%.
We're going to cover you there, Brandon.
I love the fact that those who are invested very heavily in the traditional system, they're the people who push the narrative, the negative sort of side of things. Because let's face it, they're trying to protect their interests. Why wouldn't they?
Well, it was interesting to sorry if I don't jump in, but it was interesting to see a lot of big banks discredit it while quietly behind the scenes they're actually buying.
Accumulating. Yes. They were all accumulating.
Yeah.
And they were fighting it. Even like the big finance guys, that run the hedge funds and that sort of stuff. Bitcoin's going to zero. It's shit. And then he's been buying for the last 18 months.
Yeah.
The difficulty has been for institutional money to get into that space, because it's a small market compared to the stock market.
Sure.
In terms of liquidity. Yep. So if somebody's trying to put on a hedge fund's trying to put on a $10 million position on, let's say, Bitcoin for whatever, that's going to make a big splash in the market.
No,
you don't think
$10 million would probably move it maybe 2%.
Okay.
You're talking about liquidity of Bitcoin in the billions.
Okay.
It's not, it used to be, it used to be.
Well, the flip side of that is hedging it off in terms of being able to protect that position against a market going down.
Yep.
I work in that kind of space. That's difficult to do. And in terms of my perception, correct me if I'm wrong here, because you know more about this specific area than myself.
Yep.
Is that a fair summation of it?
Well, institutional buyers and big guys anyway, they don't just do a load in one go. Do you know what I mean? They dollar cost in.
Yes.
So for example, Michael Saylor with I forget his name of his bloody company. I always do it. He's in, don't quote me on this, people, but he's in for, I think, 1.6, 1.8 billion, right? And his average buying price is $10,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So they don't just go, here's $100 million and just go on the open market and buy it. They dollar cost in. And they also have floors of people that are analysts and that sort of stuff.
And let me just add too, they'll do that on the stock market too. If there's a really big position they want to do, they often have a guy on the floor, like in the normal shouting sort of things you see in the movies, but they'll not so much they do that anymore, but electronically, but there's somebody trickling that in to get that position. And they want to do it quietly, because if they make a big splash, often that pushes the price up and they can't get as much as they want.
And if they're buying big anyway, they're pushing the price against themselves, by filling the order book.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Depending on the liquidity. So, they very much keep it to themselves.
we do have a question on the good old social media here. So,
Fantastic.
ladies and gents listening online,
Have we got
just
social
remember-
media?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're going everywhere.
Excellent.
So if you do want questions, fire them in. So this one's from Josh. It's more of a statement than anything. Is crypto should be a currency, but with the tax laws around it is too painful to use. Capital gains tax calculations on every transaction makes it a nightmare.
100% agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's what's happened. A lot of people who got in the very early days because they weren't sure if it was a currency or an asset.
Mhm.
So the ATO kind of just let it go away. They didn't really do anything with it. But over the last couple of years, more and more people are getting audited with it, and they're landing more on the side of crypto being an asset rather than a currency.
Right.
If it's a currency, every time it changes hands, you don't have to pay capital gains.
Exactly.
As an asset, every time you make a transaction, you have to do capital gains tax on the profits or losses.
Yeah.
And
But
accounting is an absolute nightmare for it. So
the best way, well, my understanding of it is they're viewing it like property. So it falls into that tax bracket.
So 50% roughly.
Well, no, it's how the property works. Well, and what my understanding, no, I'm not a financial advisor, but
Go say wealth safe for that one. Oh, there's a plug. Sorry, it's an accountant that deals in cryptos.
So my understanding is that within the first 12 months of a investment, your capital gains is 48%. After 2 years, it goes to 38%. After 3 years, it goes to 28%. After 4 years, it goes to 14 or 16, and then stays flat.
Okay.
So it's time horizon.
Right.
No?
So most transactions are going to be under a year, obviously. So that's obviously at the higher rate.
Well, I don't
Not
suggest anyone
always.
buy anything and hold it less than 2 or 3 years.
Brilliant. Okay.
You know, like and then even push that out to 7 to 8 years sort of time frame. You know, so if you're buying and selling within the first 12 months, you're just getting wrecked on capital gains.
Sure.
And we don't like the government, or me, done. And I'd rather have the money for myself, because all the government can do is waste money efficiently.
Yes.
They are efficient at one thing, and that is to waste money and resources. So the less we give them, the better. And if you know, there's ways of paying zero tax too, but that's not financial advice.
You're obviously there's a bit of an anti-bank feel here,
Oh yeah, big time.
and I think banking is going to get a huge makeover in the next coming 7 years.
Yeah, it's going to get more centralized.
So what I'm looking at here is, if somebody wants to use crypto to buy something at the shops,
Yep.
there's still opportunity to do that, isn't there?
Oh yeah, 100%.
How does that work? Because most people don't understand that.
You can use crypto to buy property. You can use it to buy a can of Coke. You know, you get loans on them. You can. There's so much to do. Everything in the traditional finance, in traditional network, is now being built on a blockchain, right? From every single aspect of the financial institution is being built on blockchains now. So, for example, Crypto Spend is the card that I use. You can use crypto.com. There's Nexo. There's, I don't know, 8 or 10 different cards where I can go anywhere in the world and I just tap and go, or just like an ATM. It takes out Bitcoin in mine, but it turns into their currency.
Sure.
So I don't need to go, oh, geez, I've got to go into Indonesia, then I've got to go to Sweden, then I've got to go to London. Oh, I'm going to need the Swiss, I'm going to need the pound, I'm going to need all these things. So, yeah, you can pay for anything with crypto now. And that's another thing with the international transfers as well. So, for example, I use this example, I don't know if it's real or not, it's something I've just sort of come up in my head, is say you build John Deere tractors, right?
Sure.
You might get some parts from Germany, some from Switzerland, and then you'll have a transport company that's based out of Holland. You'll have the shipping company that might be based out of Singapore, whatever it may be, you know, and your staff is right across the world. So all these companies now have to give $100 million into the pound, $100 million into yen, $100 million into Swiss. So all that money there is sitting in foreign exchanges. Well, now what they can do is they can deploy that capital and employ more people, do more market research, build more factories, that sort of stuff, because they only need one currency, you know. And second to that, you transfer anything through the SWIFT network and it can disappear. It does all the time, right?
And costs you a lot of
and it costs you a lot of money, and it takes days, if not weeks. You know, I can transfer, like my VAs, they work out of I can't remember. Anyways, they work out of somewhere.
Philippines?
Philippines, 100%, because on the same time frame.
Yep.
I used to have the other ones, but it was a pain in the ass. So I got 4 VAs work out of the Philippines. I pay them in Bitcoin. Right, it doesn't need to go into their bank. It's all by invoice. It's all there. Can't be changed. That sort of stuff. So it's freeing up a lot of money for cross-border payments. So that is a way of using it as a currency, buying stuff, using it to buy property, the tokenization of property, which we'll go into a bit later. So it has a lot of use cases. But taking back to the question is, listen. Its time horizon is that if you're going to put money into crypto, put money in that you can afford to lose, right?
Okay.
Dollar crossed in, and have a time horizon of at least 3 to 5 years. Don't think that you're going to get $1,000 or $10,000, buy some Dogecoin, and be driving a Lambo in 6 months, right? That does happen, right? But it's very, very rare. One thing you can guarantee with investing in crypto and that sort of stuff is that if you've got $10,000 in your bank, you're losing money on that every single day through inflation.
Yes.
Right. Well, what we're trying to do is pick the fastest horse, to protect your wealth, right? And that's what crypto does.
Questions have come in online, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Some things we'd love to talk about.
So
Let's get into
Josh is back again. Backstreet's back again.
G'day,
All right.
Josh.
So in turn, we covered this on the break, but we got told off. So in terms of traceability, some blockchains are totally transparent, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and some have privacy, like Zcash and Monero. So what's he talking about there, Brendan?
Just privacy coins. That make things, basically they bundle. So in a single transaction, I transact from me to you. It's done on the blockchain and it just goes through a circuit. Whereas bundling with Zcash and Monero and Pirate Coin and stuff like that is they'll get 100 transactions and they'll put it into one block and then they mix them all. It's called a mixer. And then they complete the transaction. So it can't be traced where it's gone to. It basically goes into a mixer and disappears.
Okay. So that's a really, really good way to keep your privacy.
Sure.
So it's a good way to tell the government to go F themselves.
Yep. Which I'm up for.
Exactly. So effectively, that is the cash of the digital world.
Absolutely.
Yep. 100%.
Now, my first question is, would it be the transaction speed? So let's say I send money from myself to Derek with Bitcoin. Let's say it takes 24 hours to get through. Would this take longer because of the bundling process?
So did you say if you send Bitcoin from you to
Myself
him,
to Derek.
it'll take how long?
I don't know. It can be seconds, can't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, depending on how much fuel you give it.
10 minutes at the most.
Okay, so let's say normally it's 10 minutes.
Yep.
Would bundling take longer?
No.
Okay. That's good.
No, it doesn't.
That's real good.
The only, and this is a caveat, the only thing that's happening lately, and when I say lately, probably the last 8 to 12 months, is the offboarding is becoming an issue. And I'll just put that out there. There are ways of getting around it, but once again, we can do that off air, is when you're doing large transactions, like, cash out, say $10,000 plus, the centralized exchange then wants to know when you bought that product, how long you've held it for, where you've held it, but also where did you get the money to buy that? Righty? So you've got to prove it.
Right.
That's becoming a pain in the balls, especially with guys that have high level transactions.
Okay.
And also
Especially in business.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially in business. But there are ways around that. But for anyone that's listening out there and just sort of getting into crypto, these are the things you don't need to worry about. Alrighty. These are for high level guys. And also it's going to be down the track when you start investing in it anyways. The law is so liquid at the moment that nobody knows what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 months, 3 to 5 days even. But saying that, there once again are ways around it. The way I look at it is government is the most inefficient thing on the planet, righty? If you want, say, to build a road, right, it'll take them, or just name anything, right? Get the government to build anything, a school, right? A post box, get them to do anything. It'll take them 10 times longer, cost you 100 times more, and it'll be done the opposite way around that the free market would do. So by the time that these, how can I put them?
There was an example of this. There was a set of stairs. I think it was in Sydney in a park. They were going like, it was just a dirt track, and the footpath was like dangerous, and a heap of people hurt themselves. So for years, they were asking for a set of stairs with a rail, and so they put some stairs in, and that was it. There was no rail, so people were still falling over. So this one guy cracked the shits, went out, got some lumber from down Bunnings, put some dino bolts inside, made a handrail, and the local council went, "Oh, you can't do that!" They pulled it down. And then the cost to the taxpayers ended up being over $100,000 because it's handrail, which cost the dude like $400 to make.
For a single handrail. So, I'm a big believer in the free market. I very much started off in the libertarian sort of movement, if you would, Ron Paul, that sort of era. So I got into Ludwig von Mises, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Murray Rothbard, the Austrian economics and that sort of stuff. And what they will say to you, the whole concept is that the privatized free market and the exchange of value between individuals or companies that doesn't have a middleman like government is way more efficient just by its pure nature. And by efficient, I mean they can bring something to market. Imagine that you gave the responsibility to the Australian federal government to produce Red Bull. It still wouldn't happen by the time that they go through all the bullshit. You give it to a free market guy and he'll get it done within months, if not years. So my big thing is that, especially in the tech world and cryptocurrency and investment, there is so much money involved in it nowadays. I actually kind of preferred it back in the good old days.
Right.
But it is good to see these banks that are now investing in it, investment firms, countries, that sort of stuff. It gives makes it more legitimate. So it helps the more traditional investors have more, respect or confidence in that sort of market. But by the time that a government legislates anything, right?
It's too late.
It's too late, because you can get a dev that when they go, okay, this needs to be a security because of these reasons, you can just hire 5 devs for 3 hours, just go and change the bloody code. And all of a sudden, and then they go, oh, it's all new and it's changed. They're never going to shut down crypto. And listen, the best advice that I could give you, and this is financial advice, mental advice, and spiritual advice. If you hear anything on the mainstream media, do the opposite. You're going to be right 100% of the time. So if they're saying that, crypto is a scam, it's just for the black market, it's for this and for that, there's a reason they're saying it. It's because they've got invested interest. Their advertising budget comes from banks and big institutions and stuff like that, and real estate, that sort of stuff. They literally, to me, crypto, and the longer I'm in it, the more it is. It's like when email came out, and the people that produce fax machines are screaming into the air, oh, you can't do this, you're going to ruin our industry. And then trying to legislate through the government to try to get rid of email.
Brandon,
it's an evolution.
Brandon, I wish you'd stop holding back. Okay?
Right.
Okay.
Real estate, where does that fit into the whole crypto space? Where's that going?
Well, for example, there's so many areas I'm touching. I'll try to make this without me going off on another tangent. Is, for example, you've got a property, whether it's a high-rise, an apartment, your own personal house, and you've got equity in that house. Say it's round figures, it's $500,000 house, you owe $200,000 on the mortgage. You can tokenize that $300,000, right? And guess you get it into your bank. So, for example, I own property in Dubai, Florida, Gold Coast, but I only own, I think, I won't go into my figures too much, but $2,000 worth of property in Dubai, $1,000 in the Gold Coast, and I've got 10 grand in another places in Florida. So you've got a high-rise building, round figures again. Say you've got an apartment, it's $1 million, and I put in $10,000, right? I now own 1% or 0.1% of that property.
Sure.
So any revenue that property turns over, I get that percentage. Then once it's sold, any profit that's in there, I get that percentage of that.
Okay.
Righty? And it's all tokenized, cannot be played with, So I can actually, in the real estate market, I can diversify my portfolio in different current
Countries.
Thank you very much. So instead of having, say, $100,000,
yep,
and I put it into one property, I can now get $100,000 and put it into 10 properties.
Sure.
And spread that risk and then diversify.
And you're getting dividends from all of this.
Now, what happens with the owner? for example, you've got
That was
property.
going to be my next question. So,
Is that now you can then deploy your capital to renovate, to upgrade. You can do whatever you want with that money, but you can stipulate that as a part of the smart contract. This is where the money's going, and it has to be allocated to that. You can't put it anywhere else. There's different conditions. There's also development companies that are happening. I know of a development in Sydney where they're raising all their capital on the blockchain. So it's through venture capital, but it's all on the blockchain.
So here's a question for you. If, let's say, there's a person with a set of duplexes in Geraldton, this imaginary person has a $50,000 mortgage on a $300,000 property.
Yep. Pay it
and they want to tokenize the 250 equity on it.
Mm-hmm.
How hard would it be to turn that into, like, let's say they want to diversify out of property and into, say, options trading, shares, other Bitcoins, purchasing a radio station,
Sure.
things like that. Totally made up hypothetical person. So how hard is it to actually turn the cryptos then into fiat currency?
Instant.
Okay.
It'll take a bit to set it up, and you would speak to Julia about that.
Okay.
Hey, Julia, I know you're listening. She's one of our consultants.
Okay.
She works for Ocean Point, which tokenized real estate. We've also got tokenized gold mines, all that sort of stuff. She works in conjunction with them, with Abby. Have a conversation with her. They draw it all up. One of my clients, Nish.
So let's say a person wanted to get into contact with you to do something like this. Let's say they had property in Albany and they wanted to tokenize their property down in Albany. How would they get a hold of you?
Get on the website, orangebrickroad.com.au, and I can put you directly in touch with them, or you will see when it goes to consultants on the page, we've got different things at the top there. You go consultants, you'll go down and you'll see Julia. You can contact Julia directly.
So, Mr. Malloy,
yes,
we are about to literally today update the website to have it. So
yes,
what we'll do, we'll put a website on the Edge Radio Australia.
Yep.
So you can actually go to edgeradioaustralia.com and actually click on the Orange Brick Road logo. Then that will take you straight to the website for you.
Even better.
Make life easy.
Aaron's not doing that, is he?
No. He fails. He doesn't even know where the mini keys.
Sometimes.
No, it's the way he's handling the mouse.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, time.
If I had feelings, I'll tell you about
You don't
it
have
right
feelings. It's okay.
Can't work under these conditions.
I can't. Jeez.
Take this anymore.
Put it, children and animals. Come on. All right. No, I reckon we've got
And shaved monkeys. You can't work with them.
Brandon, if people want to get, a lot of the stuff that you can do this, you can do that, you can do this on crypto now. That's where the level of sophistication has got. But for somebody starting out, where would you advise them to go? How do they start and get a piece of the action?
Well, this is the thing, and how Orange Brick Road was started was, excuse me. I mean, I got into it. Well, see, it was hard for me because, easy for me, but then it came hard, is that by the time that I saw Bitcoin, it made sense to me. But I'd done years of prep work, as in read Austrian economics. I started off on Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell, that sort of stuff, Ayn Rand, and then went more into the Ludwig von Mises, Murray Rothbard, that sort of stuff. So I had 4 or 5 years of that. So when Bitcoin came on my radar, it made sense. It was decentralized, can't be, there's no inflation. Well, there is inflation, but it's capped. It just money printed, just doesn't go burr. Stocks, stock buybacks, the manipulating the whole sort of the arts where it's completely decentralized. So it made sense to me. And then what would happen was, I went down the rabbit hole. I was doing and I don't advise people to do this, 6, 8, 12 hours a day on YouTube and watching everything and doing every course on the planet, because you don't absorb anything after an hour and a half, 2 hours anyway. But I just went right down the rabbit hole. So then as a result of that, I would go out to parties or barbecues or the bar or whatever, and I wouldn't shut up about it. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, guys, has anyone heard about this Bitcoin thing? Who wants to talk to me about Bitcoin? So I annoyed most people, but some people would go, oh, no, I'm interested. No, can you show me how to do it? So I'd oh, yeah, I'll show you how to do it. So I just started teaching friends, family, work colleagues for free. And then I started to, then they would tell people, and then they would tell people. And I didn't want to do any of this. And then I thought, I used to, especially when we screen shared, is I'd go, right, here's a whole bunch of videos to watch, here's some books to read, and I would just email them, and I had this cut and paste email thing. And I went, even that's starting to annoy me. So I'm going to build a website. It's just going to have start here, do this, do that, da, da. So if you go on the Orange Brick Road website under FAQ, frequently asked questions, there's about 15 videos there, and they go for 3 to 5 minutes each. What is proof of work? What is Bitcoin? What is the network? What is proof of stake? What is this? What is that? Da, da, da. That goes for 3 to 5 minutes. That's a good place to start. And then I've got books there as well that you can buy, different books. We've got online courses, you know. But if anyone's thinking about getting into crypto, the motto of Orange Brick Road was yesterday was the best time to get into crypto. Today's the second, you know. But start, even if it's just 3 minutes, 5 minutes a day, you know what I mean, to get your head around things, you know. So that's where I would start. Read some books, go through them videos, get on YouTube. Don't do shiny coin syndrome where you hear a YouTuber go, oh, check this coin out, it's going to go 100x, because most of the time they're getting paid by that coin, you know, and pump and dumps. You know, and then obviously talk to people that know more about it than you. I mean, that's how I learned. You know, and I still do it today. Like if it's especially with real estate, the tokenization of that, or NFTs, or you know, anything in crypto, the staking, liquidity providing, our team or have specialists and whatever. I don't know everything about crypto, so I want to know something, and so I asked Julia, or I asked Sophie, or I asked because they specialize in that.
I've always had a lot of success with the catchphrase, be the stupidest person in the room.
100%.
Because that way you're always learning off other people that are smarter than you.
But
that's why Derek's here.
Yeah, that's it. But
You're calling me stupid.
No, I'm the stupid one. So the amount of stuff I've learned from Derek doing these shows is amazing. Oh, by the way, Damo said to sign him up for a picture.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Same happening.
You've got
have we got
very bad
have we
taste.
got any more less disturbing messages coming through?
But just to finish off on that thought, though, we teach one-on-one, and you don't necessarily have to get in contact with me, but just it's really, really, it all depends on how much time you have. Like, for example, if you're working FIFO or you just work, 8 hours, 10 hours a week, and then you got a family, you got a very short period of time where you can actually concentrate and think about other stuff and do other things because you've got family commitments or relationship commitments, whatever it may be. I can spend an hour with someone, right? That'll take them 5 or 6 hours on YouTube to learn. Okay. I can literally go here, click here, do this, and then they go, well, what does that mean? What is the seed phrase? Explain it to them. Within 2 minutes, they go, okay, I get it. But secondly, if after 2 or 3 minutes they go, I don't understand, they haven't got it, I'll explain it a different way.
So much more efficient use of your time.
Mentors are a must. I think
it's filtering out all the noise.
100%. Because the 8 hours a day that I was spending on YouTube, I only really got an hour and 15 minutes worth of information.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know what I mean? And probably only absorbed half an hour of that, whereas someone can break it down. It's like when I used to teach music and that sort of stuff. You get a young guy come in and go, hey, man, I want to play Sweet Child of Mine and start playing some Van Halen. And you're like, all right, slow down, soldier. You can't do that yet. You need to learn this. Oh, but I want to learn scales and all that. We will get there. You need to start here. Once you've got that done, then you start here. Then you go to the next stage and next stage. People that come in with investment and crypto, oh, how do I trade? How do I use the moving averages? Oh, how do the dollar cost average? What is the blockchain? And they've got a million questions. And I just go, 99% of that you don't need to know right now. Learn this. Once you understand that, then we'll move to the next level.
Start with chopsticks, right?
Exactly, bro. How to pick up the guitar. And the first thing is how to sign up the exchange, do the KYC, how to open up a wallet, how to exchange it, how to check it, how to check security. That in itself, that'll take someone 10 to 12 hours. I can do it in an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Right. So is crypto still speculative?
Yes.
Will it always be speculative?
Yeah, stock market is as well. Any form of investment is speculative. Any form. Even gold. They could, for example, I don't know, hypothetically, Elon Musk can decide that he will land a satellite on something.
Uranus.
Or Uranus, right up Uranus. Or a comet, and it will have the entire world's gold supply in 10 square meters that they can end up mining. They can drill a hole in the Pacific Ocean somewhere and find an absolute massive oil well that will change the price of oil.
Sure.
They can go to parts of Kalgoorlie, there's a lot of Australia hasn't been discovered yet, and discover a mine site that's 5 times bigger than the super pit. Everything's speculative. Walking across the road is speculative.
True.
But I would say that what is probably the most speculative with a determination of result is fiat, because this is financial advice, right? If you keep it in fiat, you are losing money. You are losing purchasing power through inflation, through printing of money, and there is no cap on it. They don't go, inflation, we're going to cap it off at 3.5%.
This comes down to the fact that most people don't realise that that money, that the traditional US dollar is based on absolutely nothing. Like, people don't know. People still, think it's based on gold or some sort of precious metal or some sort of base. It's printed. No, it's based on how much they can print.
No, it's based on the value of the people.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah.
Trust.
So,
I always remember Jerry Seinfeld said, the LTD, the Ford LTD, it's the limited. Well, what is it? It's limited to as many as they can sell. It's not limited at all, right? And money, let's face it, cash, whatever currency, but fiat currency, they'll just keep printing it and it keeps dropping in value.
Yep.
You can guarantee it.
We did have a comment from Peter. Government digital currency will be the end of our society as we know it. Central bank digital currencies.
Yep.
I think that's why people need to really learn about cryptos and especially with the privacy coins, because they need to have that cash, the gold and silver side of things, where they can disappear from the government, because that you need your freedoms for that one. So there's another one here as well.
Having privacy in your own transaction is freedom of speech.
Of course it is.
I am choosing to have this over that, and that should not be monitored or have a middleman in between that.
Yep. The other one is life is full of grey, speculative, unfortunately. Brandon is very right.
I'm always very right, but thank you.
Just don't ask his wife.
That's right.
Okay, that's funny. We've got 2 minutes to go. We're bringing your wife into it. Never mind.
US dollar is propped up by oil.
Pardon?
From Josh, US dollar is propped up by oil.
No, it's a petrodollar, right?
Yeah, that's right. And look at where that's going now, especially with the invasion of Ukraine and what's China and Russia are looking at.
They're liberating. Come on.
Of course they are. Yeah.
I was reading this morning, Saudi Arabia's decided to stop producing as much oil as it was by about 1 million barrels. So
really.
So it's going to be really interesting where oil goes from here.
That's right. Well, see, the oil market is speculative. You know what I mean? Because
Saudi
they can just
Arabia
change
joining BRICS?
Yeah, apparently. But,
I did hear that.
I'd have to double check.
Yeah,
I thought you told me that one on one of the shows.
There's so many nations now wanting to jump in with their bank and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's. I'm getting them confused now. But there's all
My guess is there's going to be a push on the reserve currency probably in the next 18 months.
Well, there is talk of the BRICS developing their own currency. That's what's just breaking out now.
But I think it will actually change within the next 18 months.
Gentlemen,
there will be a war.
1 minute to go. Where can we find you?
Okay, so
right here on the couch, edgeradioaustralia.com.
Do you think we're hiding? You're right here.
Peekaboo.
If I do have a limited amount of time, I will say this. Hey, listen, I had a person say to me a month ago, so at a business meeting, said, I can't buy Bitcoin because I can't afford one. And I'm like, oh, dude, you can buy like $1 worth if you wanted. And he goes, I didn't realize that. Right. What I would do is say to people is if you've got to spare $80 a week, instead of going to the pub and ordering a counter meal or buying whatever, just put it into Bitcoin, put it into crypto, put it into something, because it changes everything. It gives you a time horizon. And I have noticed, especially with the young generation, where they start investing in things like crypto, they now start thinking about where they're going to be in 3 to 5 years. So they actually do crazy things like start eating better. And exercising. Well,
it's an interesting YouTuber I watch is Graham. He's like 23, 24, and he does a lot of property and stuff like that. Right. But he was saying is he's diversified a lot of his stuff into shares, and now he's saying that his biggest regret as an 18-year-old was not spending more time in the options market. He says the time in the market has always trumped the amount of the timing of the market. So that's the same thing.
Time in the market. But it's like you want us to tie up.
Oh, no, purely simply as to say where we can reach you. Obviously, orangebrick.com.au.
Orangebrickroad.com.au. I have a YouTube channel called Orange Brick Road on YouTube. I do a podcast. That's about it.
Great.
Just talking about just quickly on the education side of things as well. It's good that you said you got a podcast, because instead of sitting in traffic listening to the radio, go check a podcast on.
Yes.
You're
Podcast
not
on
going
Edge
anywhere
Radio
for an
Australia.
hour.
That's right.
I do it when I'm watering the lawn, mowing the lawn,
Brilliant.
driving, whatever. I'd rather educate myself than to be listening to the radio, except
Listening
for
to Pink.
But that's what we're trying to
digital-
achieve here. Okay, we
Yeah.
have great music, and it's nice to just kick back to
No,
tunes.
no.
yeah,
But
yeah.
at the same time, we have very educational shows on lots of different
Aaron,
varying subjects.
Aaron,
Yeah.
It's
your
Just not-
music is terrible.
It's
Yeah.
Your DJ mixes are shocking.
It's awesome. Never mind. All right, Derek.
Thank you very
Check
much
us
for
out,
having
my
me,
friend.
guys.
Absolute pleasure.
All right, absolute pleasure talking to you, and it's just awesome to talk to smart, educated people that are red pilled, that are, actually care about where things are going. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. Thank you, and an honour to be here.
Oh, Brandon, thank you. It's an honor to have you, and thank you so much for bringing in your perspective in terms of where crypto is going, what it's done, and just one final thing, because I always like to live on giving people hope. You mentioned a moment that CBDCs are a dangerous thing for the populace. Do you see a way around that?
Yes, I do.
Privacy coins.
Yeah, well, there's privacy coins. There are ways around it, and I don't think that any government department can keep up with the free market.
Right.
So that's where I've got my faith.
If you want to get more information, orangebrickroad.com.au is the way to go. Aaron, thank you so much.